Welcome to part two. We're just waiting for Kent to click on. So here's Kent. Here's Kent. Women love him, men want to be him. How are you doing, Kent? Part two. You all right, mate?
All right, Russell.
Yeah. Well, you were saying, Kent.
What was I saying? I'm
What you
literally losing.
Beefy got greedy. They wanted the pay-per-view, didn't they?
Who's that?
Pardon?
Smith? Beefy Smith?
Beefy Smith, yeah.
Yeah, it's just they've had all these excuses that they've been saying that he had an injury. Surely, when you have an injury, you don't put on 3 stone. Sure, that's your own fault. His coach come out and said that no fighters, like, if it was all right for Josh Taylor not to fight for a year and a half, close to 2 years, because of an ongoing injury, and how important it was for fighters to be 100%. Why did he let Beefy Smith go into that fight supposedly with an injury and not being 100%? The weight cut that Eubank made for the Conor Benn fight and what he did in camp to get down to that weight, he went straight into camp again for the Beefy Smith fight. They're not talking about that, Russell.
No. Let's move on to this drug testing situation before we deal with Bomac, aka Bolo from Enter Dragon. Right. Joe Cusimano has now failed a test on the 24th of June on a Matchroom show to coincide with Dylan White's 2 failures with Matchroom, 4 in combat sports altogether. Conor Benn's 2, Boom Gardner, Robert Elenius, and now this dude here. What
Billy Joe Saunders.
Billy Joe. Did Billy Joe Saunders fail with Matchroom?
Yeah, he was meant to fight Demetrius Andrade on a DAZN show.
Right. So, bottom line is, what is the answer? And is there something going on behind the scenes here? Whereas, don't mention any promoter's name, but whereas certain promoters are getting the results from these tests and they're asking fighters to sign with them when they get down to their last fight. Oh, do you want to sign a new deal with us? If the fighter doesn't sign, does that mean he's going to test positive? Because there's a lot of paranoia now. Or if the fighter does sign, will the tests be buried because the results go to the promoters? What's the answer? It's a bit like Al Capone being in charge at timesheet for bootleggers in 1920s, isn't it, in Prohibition? What's the answer, Ken?
What's even more terrifying is the fact that a fighter can fail a test and still be allowed to fight, and the findings do not come out until weeks and months after. That is terrifying. That's aside of all that, that's the most terrifying thing in boxing, because you're in there on fight night, and now you're fighting. You don't know, has this person actually failed a test or not? I'm not going to find out until another month. So that makes boxing even harder. The paranoia in boxing now. It's like, who's clean, who's cheating, who's taking what. But the fact of the matter is, drug testing was meant to be there to protect fighters. How are they protecting fighters if you fail a test and you're still allowed to go on and fight when the findings aren't actually being made after the fight? How is that? What's the point in even drug testing then?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that. It's quite worrying, really, because boxing's really rearing, it's showing its true colours this last couple of years now, and especially this last year. It's do you think the government will ever step in and try and tidy it up, Ken?
Russell, the government can't even run Britain. Never mind run boxing. There's no chance. No chance.
Okay. What do you think about Manuel Char against Jarrell Miller for WBA regular. Does that even count now, that belt? I mean, they've even
The WBA, you can't take the WBA serious now, and I'll tell you why. Manuel Char failed a drug test for testosterone a couple of years ago,
yeah.
and he got off with it. He got off with it on a technicality, and the technicality was when his B sample was opened, he didn't have a representative with him. That's how he got off with failing a drugs test. We've got Big Pharmacy Miller. He's failed multiple tests, and actually failed a test as an MMA K1 athlete as well. So they talk about, yeah, the WBA's, KO, we say no to drugs. We say no to drugs, but they've got two, drug cheats fighting for probably the most worthless belt in boxing. Is this, they call it the WBA regular belt. I call it the WBA inferior belt, irrelevant belt. It is absolutely trash worthy. It is the most meaningless belt in boxing now. It's not even a second tier belt. It is worthless. And it's crazy how the WBA just rolled over for Char, who threw legal letters at them, who hit them for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Beyond terrible. That I don't even know. I'm sure this, like, Big Baby Miller's just rubbing his hands at this. He's got no, he's second tier promoter and Dimitri Salita working with him. Manuel Char, who's been up. He's been going against Don King for the last couple of years. He's no real promoter there either. And this belt's just been pulled out of thin air for the two of them. It is absolutely terrible. Probably one of the worst fights you'll see. Manuel Char is an atrocious heavyweight. He's terrible.
Don't you rate him, Ken?
Terrible, awful.
Kent, don't you rate him?
He's crap. So he is. He's shite.
Yeah, you don't rate him at all, do you?
No, definitely not. No, definitely not.
What's the answer then with that WBA regular belt? Do you think they dealt with it properly when they said they were going to throw belt away, and now they've just dug themselves an even bigger hole 3 days later?
It's to be honest with you, you couldn't have wrote this really. You couldn't make this up. So you couldn't. It's this belt has just appeared out of nowhere. Manuel Char and Big Pharmacy Miller are going to contest it. Two drug cheats, but again, it's like KO the drugs campaign. For me, it's a massive stain on boxing. It just gets worse and worse and worse. There's fighters that are, serving bans and coming back in and getting these opportunities for alleged supposed world title fights. It's just there's no. It's just I'm lost for words, to be honest. But there's no deterrent there whatsoever for drug cheats in boxing. There's nothing.
Yeah, it's frightening, isn't it, Kent?
Frightening that you get Big Pharmacy Miller can fail multiple tests and serve a ban and come back in the back door with no real promoter, no real clout behind him, and get a WBA title fight. Manuel Char as well. Terrible, absolutely. You just don't. For now, you just don't even count the WBA as a world title now.
Yeah. What about this Bomac character, Kent, with his gun that he's been caught with? What's all that about, Kent? What do you think's gone on there?
Well, apparently, my first thing that came to my mind was, how did he get into Britain in the first place? how did he get into Britain in the first place with a loaded firearm?
I know he come
How did
unless he's bought it here, Kent.
And how did he think he was going to just walk through customs and stick a 9mm in his bag loaded?
Maybe
He's going to
some
get on the
copper.
plane.
Maybe a copper said to him, "Don't worry, we'll sort it." Maybe this double agent copper that's doing rounds, and we know who you are. Maybe he's sold him it, or maybe he heard about it. I mean, all these coppers hanging around, it's not good, is it?
It's mad.
Well, I'm only telling the truth as an ex convict that served over 10 stretch over a 12.5 year period. Do you know what I mean? I think I can speak on these things now. If people want to do interviews with these people, that's up to them, innit? If they want to brass themselves off on channels that, you know, who are buying subscribers and all that nonsense, good luck to them. But I feel we have to. I like to know I'm in company because mistakes can be easily made, can't they?
Well, what they're saying is that he arrived into Britain in like a charter flight, like a private flight. So, but you still have to go through customs. You still have to go through customs and checks and all that at the airport. Well, you would like to think so, anyway, wouldn't you? But it's crazy. He's going to be in remand until October time. So, is hearing this until October. He could get 6 months to 2 years for this.
Quite easily, mate. Quite easily done, mate. Very, very easily done.
And he'll not be allowed. If he does get out again and he doesn't get it, he gets like a suspended sentence. They'll not let him back in the UK again. There's no way he'll be allowed to be back, come back in the United K with firearm charges from America. No way.
Unless he's Anthony Joshua. I mean, according to the rule book, Anthony Joshua shouldn't be allowed in America. All right. Because he's got drug markers, hasn't he? Just like me and just like Peter Fury. Now he's allowed in, Anthony Joshua. I mean, Peter Fury, aren't we?
That's not fair. How can that be consistent?
Well, it ain't consistent, is it? You know what I mean? It's what's known as political, isn't it? To get people behind the scenes to sort it out from. Don't, isn't that right? Sadiq Khan, the man that got Joshua's visa sorted. Sadiq Khan. Everybody
The
couldn't
worst.
sign out, could you, Sadiq Khan?
He's the worst mayor of London ever, ever, ever.
Do you know how he made? Do you know how he made his fortune? Don't you, Sadiq Khan? Don't you?
What was that, Russell?
You know how he made his fortune before he got into politics? Don't you, Sadiq Khan? He was a human rights lawyer. Human
Right.
rights lawyer. Yeah, well, go look it all up what he used to stand for because it lined his pockets. And now look at his opinions now. How these people flop and change. It's a bit like why we've got privileged children, part of the New World Order, private schools from money, controlling boxing platforms like DAZN, Channel 5, and Sky Sports. Privileged kids who've never had a fate in their lives, but they've got dough. Why are these people in prominent positions? Is it because of money and power? Or are we just getting a little bit flat earthy and moon landing job on this one? Are we going into conspiracy theories? What do you think, Kent?
I think boxing now, I think boxing the last 2 years, the landscape has massively changed. It used to be a working class sport for used to be, it is a great sport for working class people and underprivileged people, finding, discipline and respect and getting structure and all. But if you look at as you move up and you look at the hierarchy of boxing now, I've said this for 2 years. You look at the hierarchy of boxing now. Who is there actually in the hierarchy of boxing now is actually working class?
This is the pricing it all out, aren't they? It's the last people, the last era, Cobra's era, wasn't it really? the last good era we've had here now. Because since 2000, since he went, Carl Froch, Joshua was supposed to be flying flag, wasn't he? We're going to fight Wilder and then undisputed. Winner Vladimir Joshua definitely fought Wilder for undisputed. Two undefeated men going at it. Well, that's 6.5 years ago. We're nowhere near now than ever before. And you've just seen Eddie come out this morning in his orange Hawaii shirt saying, and I quote, we're going to make Joshua Wilder and Fury and Usyk under talks to block so Ergovic can't have his title shot. What utter pony are they spinning now? It's just pony after pony after pony, in it, Ken?
You just don't believe any of it no more. It's just complete nonsense. I thought originally, I'll be honest with you, I thought Eddie was looking, you know what, Joshua doesn't say I'll take it now. Doesn't like Joshua's an arena fighter now. His pay-per-view worth is way down. He doesn't sell pay-per-view anymore. We have signed this guy to a long-term deal, like a lifelong deal. In that deal, he will have something there that states that he has to be, whether it's upside, and if there's no upside, he'll be given a guaranteed purse. So they have to pay that every they're talking about him fighting 3 times a year. How could they afford for AJ to fight 3 times a year in an arena with no pay-per-view whatsoever? How could they afford that? That is a massive stain on them, and they actually no.
They're just trying to blag it, mate.
So my thing was that they're going to be offered so much money, exorbitant money, for the Wilder fight that they'll take it and they'll cash him out. That's what like. They're accountants by name and accountants by nature. That for me would have been the perfect way for them, and to say, well, the money that we get from this fight, that's going to be the equivalent of 5 fights revenue or 3 fight revenue or whatever. Do we think he's 3 fights left? No. Let's cash him out. That's what I thought they were going to do. But obviously that's pie in the sky now. That's not going to happen. Listen, if they can't make a fight with Wilder, now Wilder has already fought Fury 3 times. If they can't make a fight with Wilder, they're hardly going to make a fight with Tyson Fury. There's no chance.
Yeah, it's craziness, isn't it? What do you think to certain people? We laminates in boxing running around giving YouTubers, not just me, bullets to fire for stuff that they should be talking about on their social media, but they're too frightened to upset the big dog promoters. What do you think to that, Ken?
Why are they holding a laminate then? Why are they involved? They don't like it. Why? It's that old story. If you don't like it, but you're involved in it, why are you doing it? It just makes them even more hypocritical than what they're actually standing for.
Yeah, exactly, mate. That's the way I look at it.
What are you involved? Why? If you can't come out and have an opinion on something that you're passionate about and you're involved in, why make other people, make that opinion for you? If you don't like it, get out of it. Get in the Dodge. Get the Dodge, as you would say. What's the point?
Dodge.
Get out of Dodge.
Get out of Dodge City. It's just there's a lot of people now, especially in my area, bitching and moaning and complaining about boxing. Well, put shows on them. Put your hands in your pockets. You know who you are, and put shows on instead of wanting people to hold your hands and do a show with you and all that. Put your own on. Put your money where your mouth is. You've took enough out of the sport. Put your money in. Roll the dice, and if it comes off, you keep all the lolly. If it don't, well, at least you had a good, didn't you?
Yeah, it's just life in it. Just be accountable and be responsible for your own business. That's my thing. And it's on don't have opinions on this and that, but you're still involved in it. It's just completely hypocritical, Russell. It's just like this here. It's like just get on with your own business type of thing, really, isn't it? Mind, get on with it yourself.
Yeah. Now we've had time for the Dubois thing. Desperate Daniel Dubois carry on to settle down, and all the he said, she said, and all the nonsense. And the WBA appeals been logged. What do you see happening with that, Kent?
I think it's a blocker. I think they're going to try and block the IBF. I think they're going to try and block. This is all play. This was what they wanted. Never in their wildest dreams did Frank Warren actually think Dubois was going to beat Usyk. Never. So by this happening, it was like winning the lottery for him. That was another roll of the dice for him. So they've put that appeal in. So what they're looking at, they've put that WBA appeal in. So because it was a WBA fight, that will mean it will have to be under the auspices of the WBA. So if there is that rematch, it will be the governance will be with the WBA, which means that will push back the IBF mandatory, which will mean that Eddie and Kala won't get Hrgovic the IBF title fight against Usyk, and it'll keep him off their platform, and it'll give Dubois and it'll give Frank Warren another opportunity for another pay-per-view, another slice of the purse, and another opportunity to basically keep demons away from Usyk. It's the perfect way of putting a blocker in for them.
You what, mate?
It's the perfect way of putting that blocker in for them. As I just said there, that he's put the appeal in, so that appeal will be governed. The governance of that will be with the WBA. So he's put a protest in, an appeal in with the WBA. If he gets a rematch, it will be governed by the WBA again, which will push back the IBF mandatory.
So they all get what they want, the promoters yet again. So they're never really going to give us this undisputed. Even if John Fury and Tyson came out tomorrow and said, look, do you know what? Let's just get this Usyk fight on after Ngannou one. We can go back to Ngannou rematch whenever we want, blah, blah, blah. If they said that, the promoters just won't allow it. Terry Chappendam was right, they're just not going to allow it to happen, are they? And Julian said it as well, because they want to keep the belts active and keep us on up. But this sort of era of boxing fan now, they're very fickle, aren't they? They turn on drop of an hat.
If this happens, the IBF will strip Usyk, and it'll never happen. That's what's going to happen. That's what Frank Warren wants. If this happens, if this WBA mandatory or purse or this WBA objection rematch happens, the IBF will strip Usyk. So they will. I guarantee it. They will strip him. Many heavyweight fighters as the IBF stripped Lennox Lewis way back, stripped Tyson Fury. If they've stripped them two fighters, they'll strip Usyk. They basically need a sanction fee.
You reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the IBF are ruthless with mandatories. Probably the most ruthless organization out there at the minute. It's actually enforcing it. You look at Joe Cardina escapade. You look at Josh Warrington. They will strip. They need their sanction. If you're not following their rules with mandatories, they will strip you. No doubt about it. I can see that happening.
Yeah, it's
and that means all the talk we undisputed is completely done.
Oh, if they split them belts up again, I think Arsenal fall out boxing. That's why. This is why now, right? Fury can't get that belt up. He can't really hand that WBC belt in because the fans are just going to go, oh God, it's undisputed further away, even though he should hand it in, and that's the right thing to do. They just if he does it, it's the wrong thing to do as well for fans, isn't it?
I don't think he should hand it in, Russell. I don't think he should. I
Yeah, but
think
he's
that
not
would be the wrong
defending it,
thing.
is he? He's not defending it.
Well, if he hands it in, right? So say he hands in the WBC belt, and you have Andy Ruiz fighting Deontay Wilder for it, and they one of them wins that WBC belt and goes and fights Usyk. It's not really undisputed then because they haven't beat the champion. They haven't beat the champion of the belt. It would be a default undisputed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough times, isn't it? Tough times. What do you think to that boxing news carry on at the moment? It's all changed, hasn't it, now, boxing news?
I don't follow it anymore. I used to buy it every week. I used to get it every week. I love boxing news. I had hundreds of them. I actually used to collect them. I love boxing news on a Saturday. It was great. Loved it. Used to look forward to going to news agents and buying boxing news when it was like a long like paper. I just loved it. Love boxing news, and it's just sad to see the way it's went the last 10 years. But it's digital media now, everything's completely changed, Russell. Everything's on hard copy now. Nothing's not the newspapers, magazines, all that's going down the pan because everything's on computer now.
What
Digital era.
what do you think Bolo will think to his new surroundings at HMP Strangeways on remand?
I tell you what, I hope there's no slapping out there. Are they still slapping out there?
Now they've got toilets there now.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think he likes his grub, Russell. So hopefully the food's good there for him. He'll not like it in there.
He'll not like it in there, will he? But apparently he struts around where he's from over in America like some big OG.
Not me. He's a character. Like he definitely is a character. Definitely is.
What do you think about his training methods? Because he sets a good game plan out, Kent, doesn't he?
He's exceptional. Uh, I watched him talk about doing pods there about a year ago, and he says, "Well, why should fighters be doing pod sessions for fitness? They can get that from their cardio." He says pods are technical. He does everything like slow in the pods. So they're setting their shots up, they're getting their technique right. He changes every session. Every session Bud does every day is completely different. So he's constantly going through a stimulus. He's got two other coaches he works with. They would sit down after each day and go through the session, what worked, what didn't work, what they're going to do the next few days. He's a brilliant coach. You can't deny that he is an exceptional coach. You could see the difference in that was probably the best I've seen Chris Eubank Jr. his whole career.
Who's Chris Eubank Jr.'s best win? Arthur Abraham, De Gale, or Beefy Smith?
Personally, I think Chudinov was his best win.
Choosing off as well, yeah.
I thought Chudinov was an exceptional win, really good. I thought that was his best performance of his career, to be honest with you. The Chudinov fight. I thought that he was brilliant. That was the best I've seen him. He's he's had some good career wins. Like I'm on the hype train again. I'm on the Chris Eubank hype train, but it's where he goes now at middleweight. There is no real money fight in middleweight. Charlo hasn't fought in over 2 years. Janabak is fighting the WBA champion, in top rank. I don't know if that would happen on the top. The thing with what Eubank's career is smart at the minute is you look at his promoter is Sarland Wasserman, but he can fight in any network. So he's not actually aligned to a network. He's got a promoter, but he's not aligned to a network. So that means he can go from network to network and still fight, which is a really smart deal. That's a deal that not many fighters in box. He's basically a free agent with a promoter. That's a brilliant deal for him.
I don't rate his career, to be honest, Eubanks, and I don't think Chudinov's his best winner. You're getting them mixed up because it was that Dimitri he beat. There's two of them, isn't there?
Well, there was brothers. There was two brothers, the Chudinov brothers, but that was for a WBA interim belt. So that was that for me. That was his best win of his career. I thought he was good against Aubrey Abraham. Yes, they say Abraham was past his best, but at that time, it was a step up for Eubank Jr. So it was a massive step up for him. I think someone that hasn't had much of an amateur career. Yes, he won the Harringay Cup. I think he's done well for the limited experience that he's had as an amateur, an elite amateur. So I think he's done really well. To be honest with you, I thought he went into the Billy Joe Saunders fight a complete novice. Like, Billy Joe Saunders was at the Olympics. He had a lot of experience on him at the time, and it was a split decision. I thought with very limited 12-round championship experience, I thought he pushed Billy Joe Saunders to the limit. Could have beat him. Yeah. It was a really, really close fight. He started really, 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 really late in the fight. He started at like round 5. If he had pressed a bit earlier, I think he could have beat Billy Joe. No doubt about it.
Do you think, Ken, that fighters nowadays, even Billy Joe Saunders guilty of this, Chris Eubank and all the Smiths, are just picking and choosing who they want to fight instead of just fighting the killers?
I think it's all down to money now. I think this with the network, and you look at Eubank's record. Like he's beat Abraham. He's beat Nick Blackwell. It was a British title. There's fighters out there now aren't even fighting for British titles, and they're going straight in the world level. The Chudinov win was a good win. Dmitry Chumov, that was after the Billy Joe Saunders loss. That was a hard fight getting into that right away. So he's had a decent career, but as you say, now anytime he stepped up, you look at the George Groves fight. I don't think he was ready for that. I think if he had a better structure around him at the time, he probably would have pressed a bit better. It was Groves coming at the end of his career. It was a massive opportunity for him. He beat Liam Williams. He's beat Liam Smith. He's had a good career. He just hasn't had that world title fight. But if you look now at the middleweight division, and you look there, there's absolutely no money whatsoever in the middleweight division whatsoever. There's who does he fight at middleweight that's going to generate a purse like he got at the weekend?
Well, this is it. You see, nobody's bothered about legacy now or going for a world title if the guys who've got the belts is not able to generate big money. They're just going for these gimmicky fights, and it is called prize fighting. So we're damned if we do and damned if we don't. But I don't want to hear roadman killer talk and big chit chat on telly when we know it's macaroni.
I would actually like him to fight the winner of Janibek. Janibek fights in a unification. He fights the IBF champion next. That's WBO and IBF. I would actually like him to fight the winner of that. More likely, it's going to be Janibek, who Denzel Bentley took.
Well, I don't want to see Kell Brook, Eubank. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see. Now I've thought about it, even though it's 1-1, I don't want to see Beefy against Eubank either.
That's not going to happen.
I don't want to see Conor Benn against any of them until he's sorted out his drug issues. And I do want to see Eubank. Sorry, I don't want to see Golovkin because he's 40 odd now. And I do want to see Charlo against Eubank. I think that's a credible fight. Charlo against him. But I don't see the same energy that they're shouting out for people like Kell Brook and Conor Benn, who's a welterweight.
That doesn't, and see, the sad thing about it is, and the crazy thing is, it would probably sell and do well. That's the crazy thing about the whole thing with Kell Brook. is the Charlo fight a lot more credible than Kell Brook? Probably 100 times more credible, but in the UK, it would probably sell better on pay-per-view, and it would sell out in arena better than Charlo. And that may seem crazy, but it's probably true, and it's disappointing that that's the case. But you know, you look at all them fans at the weekend that were mobbing Conor Benn and wanting selfies took with them. These are the people that are actually paying for box office and paying for these fights. They're not proper boxing people. So
No.
what do they actually know about boxing? So for
Well,
me, that's the people that are paying for boxing, and that's the people that are going to pay for a Kell Brook fight over a Charlo fight.
yeah, you're probably right there, Kent. You're probably right. It's quite scary what's going on at the moment, mate, isn't it, really, with boxing?
You just don't know day after day what's happening in boxing. It's just there's a curveball every single day.
No,
It's it's
no, it's not a curveball. It's blatant lies and untruths and dishonesty by grown, insecure men, mainly people that have been to private school and all the lickers around them. And that's what they are. Lickers. Utter lickers. All right.
it's not gonna change anytime soon, Russell. Sure,
No,
it's not.
no, and like I said, we've done our bit. Can't do any more harder now. We're just pissing in an hurricane. When they can put on a show like that at weekend, where, if truth be known, you know, look at the state of that card. Pay-per-view, you've got fighters there. They look to me like they're weak as kittens and not trained and burning candle at both ends, either eating, partying, or doing something. Mainly eating. Not fit, slobs. That's basically what it is, slobs. And taking piss out boxing fans. Enough is enough. Boycott these pay-per-views or they're just going to keep putting them on.
And that's the casuals. The casuals don't actually understand this. They don't understand that they don't watch the undercard. They don't give a shit about the undercard. They just want to watch the main event. And the promoters know that now. And they'll put on the main event, a crap undercard, and people will buy it. And that's the way the worst undercard I ever seen was probably Dillian White and Tyson Fury. That was atrocious. That's probably the worst ever. Worst ever.
Well,
But
what can you...
people sold out a football stadium and it sold on pay-per-view. So, you know, that's the people that's buying boxing now. That's the people that's buying these events. So what do you do about that? It's changed. As I say, these people do not give a shit about the undercard. Half of them people would have been in the bar most of the night. And then they'll come out and they'll watch the main event and they'll go and they'll not even know who actually fought on the undercard. That's what's going on.
We're out of time, Kent, but let me just finish off on this. My pals just texted me and said, yeah, you've missed some at Porky. So I've gone, what? And he's gone, Stephen Smith, he's best fighter out of the lot. He's got a win over Robin Deakin. Is that him with a club foot?
Actually, can't remember, to be honest with you, Russell.
Or he's got a club foot in, bless him. Either way, it's boxing, isn't it? Thanks for coming on, Kent. You've been a real tonic, and we'll speak again. Take care.
All the best.
Cheers, pal. Bye. Well, that were Kent. Women love him. Men want to be him. Speaks very clearly. Loves his boxing. If anybody's offended by this 2 videos he just put out, I don't care. So if I don't make a stand, nobody else is going to do. We're surrounded by lickers and the police in boxing now, it seems. People licking and brassing themselves off just to get themselves out there, eh? Unbelievable, isn't it? These are grown men. Grown men. Insecure grown men. Okie dokie. Peace out. Thanks for liking and subscribing, leaving a comment. Pop, pop, bang. End of, bum.